Eli. Here's a new book today, Mr. Seahorse by Carle. Let's see, can you see it? Mr. and Mrs. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea. Mrs. Seahorse began to wiggle and twist this way and that. It's time for me to lay my egg, she said. Can I help? Said Mr. Seahorse. Oh, yes, thank you, said Mrs. Seahorse, and she laid her eggs into a pouch on Mr. Seahorse's belly. I'll take good care of the eggs, said Mr. Seahorse. I promise. As Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea, he passed right by a group of trumpet fish hidden in a patch of reeds. Let's see. Oh, look it, there's the trumpet fish. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. How are you, Mr. Stickleback? Asked Mr. Seahorse. Delighted, replied Mr. Stickleback. I just built a nest and right away. Mrs. Stickleback laid her eggs into it. Now I'm taking good care of them until they hatch. Keep up the good work, said Mr. Seahorse, and he swam away. Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea. He passed right by a lionfish hidden behind coral reef. Let's see. Oh, there's the lionfish. Oh, so pretty. Next page. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. How are you, Mr. Tilapia? Asked Mr. Seahorse. Mr. Tilapia couldn't answer. His mouth was full of eggs. I know, said Mr. Seahorse. Mrs. Tilapia laid her eggs. Now you're taking good care of them until they hatch. Mr. Tilapia nodded his head. You must be very happy, said Mr. Seahorse, and he swam on his way. Look at the eggs inside. Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea. He passed right by several leaf fish hidden among the seaweed. Let's look behind the seaweed. Leaf fish. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. How are you, Mr. Curtis? Asked Mr. Seahorse. Perfectly fine, replied Mr. Curtis. Mrs. Curtis laid her eggs, and now I've stuck them in my head. Now I'm taking good care of them until they hatch. You are doing a good job, said Mr. Seahorse, and he swam away. Look at more fish on his head. Mr. Seahorse drifted gently through the sea. He passed right by a stonefish hidden behind a rock. Let's look behind the rock. There's Mr. Stonefish. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. How are you, Mr. Pipe? Asked Mr. Seahorse. Couldn't be better, replied Mr. Pipe. Mrs. Pipe laid her eggs along my belly. Now I'm taking good care of them until they hatch. You should feel real proud of yourself, said Mr. Seahorse, and he swam away. But before long, Mr. Seahorse met another fish. How are you, Mr. Bullhead? Asked Mr. Seahorse. Tip-top, replied Mr. Bullhead. Mrs. Bullhead laid her eggs, and the eggs hatched. Now I'm babysitting. You are doing a fine job, said Mr. Seahorse, and he swam away. Look at, he's babysitting all his babies, all around. The time had come for the seahorse babies to be born. Mr. Seahorse wiggled and twisted this way and that. At last, the babies tumbled from Mr. Seahorse's pouch and swam away. One baby turned around and tried to come back into the pouch. Oh, no, said Mr. Seahorse. I do love you, but now you're ready to be on your own. Oh, the end. Did you love it? Let's read that back. Dear friends, in most fish families, after the mother has laid the eggs, the father has fertilized them. The eggs are left on their own. But there are exceptions, such as the seahorse, stickleback, tilapia, Curtis nursery fish, pipefish, bullhead catfish, and some others. Not only are the eggs cared for by the parent, but surprise, that parent is the father. This may sound strange, but it is the truth, and this is my story about them. I hope you enjoy my story. I really enjoyed that. Did you love it, Eli? Well, have a great day and give Mama kisses for her birthday. Love you.